2 in 1 day. What a day for professional wrestling. It's been a good one. Let's dive into it. Hello and welcome to FCTR. I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about WWE NXT Battleground 2023, the NXT Premium Live event that aired the same night as AEW Double or Nothing. I'm going to tell you the good, the bad, what I thought of the show. But before I do that, please hit subscribe, please like this video, please comment your thoughts on NXT Battleground down in the comments below, and I'll try and reply to every single one of them, as I add a bit of context to this in terms of me and my NXT fandom. If you've been following the channel for a while, you will probably know that I sort of fell out of love with NXT during almost around the pandemic time, and NXT 2.0 kind of jaded me, but I always loved NXT UK, being a British wrestling boy. So what caught my interest about Battleground in particular? I know I did Halloween Havoc, and I've been trying to get into NXT, but the card for this show really stood out to me. The matches like Dijak versus Dragunov, like Dragon Lee versus Noam Dar, like Tiffany Stratton versus Lara Valkeryie. I hope I'm pronouncing her name right. I think I butchered it. But those matches really stood out to me and really piqued my interest. So I decided to dip back in to NXT with Battleground. And I've got to say, pauses for dramatic effect, this is probably the best show of the weekend. I thought this was cracking and really reminiscent of Black and Gold NXT. The NXT that I hold so dear as a wrestling fan. The NXT that got me into professional wrestling in 2017. This gave me that flavour, as well as stuff I love from Progress, stuff I love from the main roster. I think this was such a good blend of different styles of wrestling that it really stood out as one of my favourite shows of the year. So yeah, let's just dive into everything that happened, starting with the opening video package, which was really good. Obviously, WWE Video Package Department are top tier. They produce good video packages for everything. This opening one for Battleground in Massachusetts, I think it was, Lowell, Massachusetts. I could be wrong. It was a really good video package. They really hyped it up. And then we got to the opening contest for the NXT North American Championship, which was Wesley defending the belt against Joe Gacy and Tyler Bate, my big strong boy. This was an awesome three-way. Like, really, really cool. He played up the aspect of, you had the two sort of high flyers in Bate and Lee, and they were going up against Joe Gacy, who's trying to come between them. He's trying to be that, cult leader who's getting in between the two friends. And I thought he played that off really well. Joe Gacy is, of course, incredibly athletic, which led to one of the most insane spots in the match when Tyler Bate and Joe Gacy both did a handspring. Tyler Bate did his, Joe Gacy did his off the ropes. They both clattered each other as Wesley went and did his backwards Pele kick on them, which just looked insane. And there was just high spot after high spot after high spot, and it was so fun. So fun. Wesley is going to be a future WWE champion, a world heavyweight champion, a universal champion. He's going to be like one of the top stars because he is just next level good. His diving over the ring post, missing Joe Gacy by a fraction, going straight over and hitting Tyler Bate was a thing of utter beauty. Utter beauty. And checking my notes here, there was just some really, really cool stuff at the end. So sort of, I think Joe Gacy rolled up Tyler Bate into a sunset flip, rolled him up, Tyler Bate reversed the pressure, and Wesley went with a huge meteora on Tyler Bate that took him out. And then it was Joe Gacy did his handspring off the ropes, Wesley did his handspring off the ropes, and Wesley just got there in time. So Wesley pinned Joe Gacy to retain the NXT North American Championship. He is officially, I believe, the longest running NXT North American champion, which is one thing that makes me sad about NXT, is that they can't actually reference a lot of sort of the lineage stuff, because they're in AEW. They can't mention that Adam Cole was the first NXT North American champion. They obviously can't mention Velveteen Dream. They can't mention a lot of people who've held the belt. So that's the same with the NXT title. So it's a bit weird. They can't go in depth with that stuff. I'd really like them to talk about that stuff. But yeah, this was a really, really fun way to kick off the show. An awesome triple threat. Then we got my juices flowing with a British Rounds match, or as they now call it, Heritage Cup Rules match for the Heritage Cup Championship. Noam Dar took on Dragon Lee. This was so good. I love British Rounds matches. I think they are some of the best that NXT UK put on. Back when they were in the BT Sports studio, they put on corkers with these British Round matches, and this was really, really good. So it started off with pretty even share of things. A lot of technical wrestling, a lot of roll-ups, attempted pins and stuff like that in the first round, and then we moved on to the second round, and that is where Noam Dar picked up the win with a very deep cover. He covered Dragon Lee, pushed his legs right back, 1, 2, 3. That ended the second round. Noam Dar is 1 fall up, which the heel is up. Again, you can play to that advantage. That's a good thing about 2 out of 3 falls matches. Then you got into round number 3, and that is just where things got insane. Like, just really, really cool, because Dragon Lee did his huge flurry of offense. He did the leaping Hurricane Rana over the rope, straight into a suicide dive, straight out the ring. And that's where, I believe it was round 3. Was it round 3? When did he pick up the pin? See, there's so much here. I think he picked up the pin. No, he picked up the pin in the next round. Sorry, I'm very bad at writing notes, but I need notes for this match because it was a decently length match. So they had 2 people in either person's corner. You had your cornerman, if you will. So Nathan Frazier was in the corner of Dragon Lee, and it was Mensah in the corner of Noam Dar. They started brawling on the outside after Mensah tried to get involved for Noam Dar. Noam Dar hit this sick back elbow on Dragon Lee after the time had expired, so he took a really cheap shot there. It reminded me of when White Goodman throws the dodgeball at Kate in Dodgeball, and then like everyone's like, whoa. That was the reaction of the crowd. If you know that reference, good on you. But yeah, then we got into round 4, and that is where Dragon Lee picked up a pinfall. He did this insane tilt-a-whirl sort of reverse DDT thing on Noam Dar, pinned him, 1, 2, 3. That's that round done. And then you got the insane spot. The insane spot, I believe, came in number 5, and it was Dragon Lee went for his leaping over the top rope Hurricane Rana, but Noam Dar countered it into a powerbomb. Dragon Lee very nearly hitting the apron, instead plummeting to the floor. It was sick to watch and terrifying. But yeah, then we headed straight to the finish, and that was so Lash Legend and Miss Jackson run down after Nathan Frazier and Mensah have been evicted from ringside for brawling. So they both run down. They clock Dragon Lee in the back. Noam Dar hits his finish, the kick. I'd nearly call it Scottish Sickle. It's not that. That's his clothesline. So I'm blanking on the name of his finish. But he hits that 1, 2, 3, retains the Heritage Cup. Right decision, because Noam Dar is one of the best heels in wrestling. Utterly tremendous. And this was a really, really fun match. Love this. More of it, please. More Heritage Cup rules matches on NXT. That's exactly what I would like. And then we got to the main event. It wasn't actually the main event. It was the main event of my heart. Ilya Dragunov versus Dijak in a last man standing match was everything I wanted it to be and more. I think it's probably the best last man standing match I've seen in years, because I often find last man standing matches very tedious. But the storyline they've told with Dijak trying to break Dragunov, I think it's been so good. Like, Ilya is second to none when it comes to selling. He's the best seller in professional wrestling. And the match that they had was a war. A brutal war. And I'm going to have to check my notes here because there's so much that happened in this match. They just start off by just brawling with each other. And then Ilya goes for his jumping elbow on the outside and Dijak kicks him in the face. He reverses it with a kick in the face. And I think that's where Ilya Dragunov got busted open, but he's just pouring blood from his mouth. Dijak goes to get a table. Ilya runs at Dijak while he's got the table and does a torpedo Moscow through the table to Dijak. Looked brutal. Like, it probably didn't help Ilya, but they look cool. And yeah, a huge coast to coast from Dragunov that through the steel chairs into Dijak, which looked again brutal and ruthless. Dijak hit a feast your eyes, which was gnarly to watch. I think that triggered more blood from Ilya Dragunov because he was bleeding again after. And then it came to the point at the end of the match where he's got Dragunov in the corner. Dragunov is hanging in the corner. So the feast your eyes spot, actually, I'll say this. I know this has been a bit rambly, but I apologise. There's so much to talk about. He hit the feast your eyes and Ilya sells it so well. He doesn't go to the floor. He's like stumbling. He's staggering. He falls back into the corner on the opposite side of the ring. And Dijak hasn't seen. So he's shouting to the ref, count him. Why haven't he started counting? And then he turns around and sees that Ilya's body is just hanging limp from like the second rope. And then he just gets pissed. He goes to the corner, gets a kendo stick, and just unloads kendo stick shots on Ilya Dragunov to a point where he looked battered. Absolutely battered. And when I say nailed him, you could hear it for ages. He then took a massive chair shot to the spine as well, which was like thunder, and he still wouldn't stay down. He would not stay down. And that is when he goes to the corner. Ilya summons a burst of energy to hit a torpedo Moscow on him. Climbs the steps, so the steps are upright. Climbs to the top of the steps, and as Dijak's face is against a chair, jumps and hits a leaping forearm right to the back of the head of Dijak on the chair. And Ilya just gets up at the count of 9, beating Dijak in one of the most sensational last man standing matches I have ever seen. One of my favourite matches of the year, and this is just what I want NXT to be. These two. Your top guys, Ilya Dragunov and Dijak, because they are both terrific. I've probably missed some details out there, but I'd go out on my way to watch this. This was an incredible match. Then we got to talk about probably the low light of the show, and that is the Creed brothers taking on Gallus. This match had a hard time following the insane last man standing match, and yeah, it was okay, but again, it's not like blow away tag team stuff. I think Julius Creed had this awesome spot in the middle of the match where he was just suplexing guys left, right, and centre. I think he'd suplex Wolfgang, he'd go back to Mark Coffey, he'd go back to Wolfgang, he'd go back to Mark Coffey, and that really frenzied up the crowd. But this just didn't particularly click with me. I thought it was okay, I thought it was decent, but the finish was a distraction finish, so Ivy Niles accompanied the Creed brothers out, and she gets jumped by Ava of Schism. That's enough to cause a distraction, and for Gallus to hit their finish for the win. I don't particularly like Gallus. I'll say that. But yeah, Gallus retain. We're going to get more Gallus. Okay. Sure. It was an okay match. I haven't really got too much to say about this one. It didn't blow me away. So, shall we just move on? Then we had the match for the vacant NXT Women's Championship with Tiffany Stratton taking on Lara Valkeryie. Again, I think I pronounced that right, but I could be wrong. I much preferred Lara Valkyrie. I swear that's what it used to be. Lara Valkeryie. We'll see. It's probably awful. This was a really, really good match, and I've got to give props to Lara in this match because it was all based around her knee, based around her selling her knee. So she does a leapfrog over Tiffany Stratton towards the beginning of the match and lands funny. And I genuinely couldn't tell if she'd actually tweaked her knee or if she was selling it. I thought her selling was so good. And then when Tiffany Stratton started targeting the knee, picking up the knee and chucking her into the ring post, chucking it into another ring post, and really hammering down the fact that she's going after the knee, I was like, okay, I think her knee's fine. But she did some really good selling work, and it really positioned Tiffany Stratton, even though she was being cheered a lot, probably more than Lara, she was definitively the heel in this match, and I think that worked really well. And Tiffany Stratton is just going to be a megastar. It's just going to happen. But I thought this was a really strong match. Really good action, back and forth. Went a lot longer than I thought it would. And I think they really proved that these two women can be the top of the women's division in NXT. Obviously, you've got a load of other names in there, like your Cora Jades, like your... I nearly said the wrong name then. I nearly said Priscilla Kelly, Gigi Dolan, like JC Jane, like Roxanne Perez. You've got a really stacked women's division in NXT, and this match really highlighted that, and it came to blows at the end with a great near fall after Lara Valkyrie hit her spinning leg lariat, I'm going to call it, and went for the pin. Tiffany Stratton got her foot on the ropes from that. Really good near fall, and then Tiffany Stratton eventually hit her moonsault for the win. One of the best moonsaults in professional wrestling, maybe better than Christopher Daniels is. We shall see about that. But yeah, she picked up the win. She's the new NXT Women's Champion. I think this is going to be really fun going forward, seeing Tiffany Stratton sort of flourish and see what more she can do on the mic with that championship and in matches. And just the whole presentation, I think, is really good, carrying that brand at a top tier level. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what Tiffany Stratton does going forward. Then we got the main event. We got Brownbreaker taking on the NXT champion Carmelo Hayes. I love Brownbreaker as a heel. I think he is so much better as a heel than he was as a face, and him just being like he's like a more vocal Goldberg. I love the way he backtalks and just screams and shrieks all the time. I think it's really good and really different to a lot of other sort of big men. And he's not just a big man because he's goddamn quick. And pairing him up with Carmelo Hayes, you get lightning sequences. And I think this worked really well as well. I think they were definitely playing up attacking the leg angle, which was a bit weird considering we just had that in the last match, but they worked so well together, like so well together, and there were lots of innovative counters. I think Carmelo, obviously he has money, he's going to be a superstar, an absolute megastar on the main roster, and this is just showing that because he did so many cool things in this match, took so many insane bumps, and while the story wasn't necessarily the greatest, this wasn't the greatest NXT main event I've ever seen, I think it's really promising for both guys, this, and it led to a big crescendo at the end when Brownbreaker, who probably has the best spear in wrestling right now, speared Carmelo in midair, which just looked perfect. Looked utterly perfect. And then that is when he had him wounded. He didn't capitalise on it as he thought he could. And Carmelo made his comeback, hit a really cool springboard sort of DDT, then hit his diving leg drop to pick up the win. And Carmelo retains. I think after it was a clean loss for Bron, so I wouldn't be surprised if Bron makes his way to the main roster anytime soon, because as a heel as well, that'd be good. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens. And yeah, Carmelo has so many challenges down in NXT. Ilya, Dragon Lee, Tyler Bate, Joe Gacy. There's so many matches you can have with Carmelo. It's a good job they kept the title on him. It's a good choice. And that capped off the show. Overall, I thought this was a really good show. Like, really good show. One of my favourite shows of the year. I do think it dipped in quality a little bit towards the end. I think the first 3 matches were utter killer, but that's not taken away from the fact that I thought this was a lightning show. I'm going to give this a solid 4 1/4 out of 5. 4.25 out of 5. My favourite show of the weekend, I think. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on NXT Battleground down in the comments below, and I'll try and apply to every single one of them. Thank you all ever so much for your support, and have a nice day.